If you think working as a UK physio is just treating sports injuries and back pain in a private room, you are in for a massive shock. The NHS is an acute machine and the reality is very different. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ibrahim and I've helped over 1,000 people with their NHS applications. We're going to split this video into three parts. First, I'm going to break down the shifts and the money and specifically the dreaded on-call. And then we're going to look at the day-to-day reality, focusing on the discharge is king mindset. And finally, we're going to talk about protecting yourself, the CSP, liability, and keeping your HCPC registration safe. Let's start with part one. So the hours are fairly standard. As a physiotherapist in the UK, you're going to be working normally 8:30 to 4:30, 9 to 5, or some sort of similar hours to that, Monday to Friday. The catch is, as a band 5, you are expected to participate in the on-call rota, and of course, this could mean you're called out at 3 a.m. for, I don't know, like an ICU chest infection, and you would be expected to participate in the weekend roster. The hospital is open 7 days a week and they do want some sort of cover for most of that time. In terms of the type of roles you're going to be doing, it's very rare just to have one specialty, particularly as a band 5. Most often you're going to be working as a rotational physiotherapist, rotating across the different departments, and you're roughly going to be moving every 6 months. In terms of the pay as a band 5 physiotherapist in the UK, this is in the NHS we're talking about. Private salaries will vary. The starting salary is going to be somewhere around sort of just under 30,000 a year and going up to around 36,000 pounds a year. This is as a band 5 rotational physiotherapist. If you're a band 6, which is a senior physiotherapist, and this would normally be after sort of serving 18 to 24 months in the NHS, then of course your salary would then start to go up. But actually, the most important thing is making sure you've got a solid application when you're going for new roles. And that's why we've developed the NHS Jobs Fast Track Guide, which is packed with the secrets and tips our experts have used for years. It's worth £49, but it's now free. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Now, the day-to-day reality as a physiotherapist in the UK is the NHS bills generalists and not specialists initially anyway. So when you're a band 5, like we mentioned earlier, you're going to be cycling sort of every 4 to 6 months between departments. So one time you could be in working in the MSK clinics, and then you could be moved onto a stroke ward, moved onto respiratory. And even if you're really a big fan of say working with stroke patients or working with MSK patients and you don't really want to do respiratory, you are going to be expected to rotate as a rotational physiotherapist across all these departments. In terms of how the NHS works, your role is not often to 100% fix a patient. The most important thing is something called medically fit for discharge. In the hospital, in the NHS system, the system is under massive pressure. You've got patients waiting to be discharged, you've got patients receiving treatment, and on the other side you've got patients sort of in the A&E department and they're waiting for a bed. They've come in through the emergency department and they need a bed in the hospital. And what the NHS rather needs is people to be discharged sort of quickly, as soon as they're medically fit for discharge, so that more people can come into the hospital, and like that is a continuous cycle. So the whole aim as a physiotherapist is often not going to be to 100% sort all the problems that a patient has, is to just make sure that they're medically fit for discharge. This is something that can be different to working in private practice, where your role might be to really work with the patient, to really get to the maximum sort of level that they can. Often a lot of the focus can be making sure sort of that the patient is going to be safe when they get home. So you're going to be working with occupational therapists in that situation, making sure that the patients have got somewhere safe to go to. And often you're also going to be working with social workers, particularly sort of with elderly patients and things, just to make sure that they've got everything that they need to continue their recovery at home. Quick pause before we continue. I want to show you a brand new tool I built that will seriously make your NHS job search faster, easier, and way less stressful. Let me show you how you can apply for an NHS job and prepare for the interview in under 60 seconds. First, I complete my profile so the tool understands exactly who I am. Now let's apply to an NHS job together. I search for a role, choose this one and copy the person specification and job description. I then paste this into the generator, and just like that, there it is. A fully tailored, personalized, role-specific supporting information section created automatically. Now I'm going to prep for the interview. I generate intelligent interview questions using the Smart Assistant, type in my answers and instantly receive feedback on how to improve them. After that, I revise using flashcards. I simply paste in the job description and the tool generates custom flashcards so I can start practicing straight away. Finally, I add the job to my tracker to keep everything organized. A process that normally takes hours, now done in minutes. If you want access, email info@healthhireuk.com to get started. So the reality is that you need to protect yourself. You're the one that's making decisions as a physiotherapist, and that means you also carry risk. Now, the main sort of way to work in the NHS is to make sure you document everything immediately. A lot of the time you'll have access to some sort of digital note system, so it'll be some sort of digital electronic patient record. Very few hospitals will actually be using paper notes now. So you're going to have access to a laptop or a computer, and you need to make sure you make your notes immediately after seeing a patient. Make sure you follow some set format, whatever your trust is using. Otherwise, if there's no set format, try to keep everything, use something like the SOAP format, which is, subjective, objective, analysis and plan. So, what you're doing with each patient, what you've done, why you've done it, make sure you're documenting this in the patient's notes. And also, like we've said, make sure you're writing immediately. The longer that you've left something, the less likely it is if anything was to go to court, or if there was a patient death and they check in the notes, and if there's massive discrepancies in the time, this is going to be like a big red flag. So as soon as you've seen a patient, try to make sure you're writing up the notes before you're moving on to anyone else. You're going to forget. If you're leaving it 3-4 patients and then writing up notes, you're going to start to forget. You're going to make mistakes, and if anything does come back to you, there's going to be legal issues later down the line. So to protect yourselves, make sure you're documenting everything and make sure you're writing it down immediately. In terms of the essentials to sort of also protect yourself, make sure you're aware of the HCPC sort of guidance on physiotherapists. You're a registered member of the HCPC, and they have professional standards and expectations of you as a physiotherapist. You can find these on their website, but it's good to, before you start your first shift, just to be aware of what they're expecting from you. And then you've got the CSP, which is the union, and they also have the personal liability insurance. Make sure you join this before shift one, or alternatively, if you're making sort of, alternative insurance arrangements, make sure it covers you for your NHS work, and it covers you for any malpractice, and it protects you in case anything goes wrong. And again, NHS can be about politics. There's a massive pressure. You've got, management, you've got doctors who are just wanting the flow to continue. And like we mentioned earlier, you've got a flow from the emergency department to the discharge, and if there's any sort of blockages at any point, you have a massive build-up, in A&E, and this can really cause a lot of pressure on doctors. And a lot of the time, they're going to be expecting you to discharge patients, sign them off for discharge. But if you're not happy, you're legally responsible for this patient as well. You can stand your ground with a doctor, and you can say that, you are not going to do this. So make sure that you're willing to stand your ground, and make sure you're doing everything in the patient's best interest. So life as a physio in the UK is really a balancing act between sort of the 9-5 routine, the chaos of on-call, weekend work, and sort of the pressures of the NHS. But really, the clinical autonomy that you're going to get in the UK is almost unlike anything else in the world. So thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And don't forget to claim your free guide, which is in the pinned comments. We do have a playlist for physiotherapists, and so do try to watch our other videos for physiotherapists coming into the UK. And if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll try to get back to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. We built Health Hire to make NHS applications so much easier, from writing your supporting information tailored for each role to practicing real interview questions with feedback. It's all here. Grab lifetime access for just £70 and start applying with confidence. Email us at info@healthhireuk.com.